What's up, guys? Today we're gonna have a review of Cold War Alpha gameplay. Clearly we have ships, we have swimming, we have zip lines, rippling use, and it's pretty interesting. It's a fun game. We have speedboats you can shoot people from. It's very intense, very active game. There are a couple critics. There are things I like, things I don't like, and specifically one thing that I do and don't like is, the gameplay is smooth. It does feel like a crossover of Black Ops and Modern Warfare, more towards the Black Ops, obviously. The time to kill isn't as absurd and long like it was in Black Ops 4 with 150 health, but it's also not as quick as it is in Modern Warfare. So it is a mixture of both. One thing that I am still a little bit indifferent about is the health bar. It's a great indicator and all, but sometimes it is a little bit distracting, and it kind of gets in the way sometimes. And another huge thing, as you saw right there, is that player name indicator. That's a little bit distracting. Well, not a little bit, but it's widely distracting. And when you have a lot of your allies in the same field of sight and still like same lined up with an enemy, it can kind of confuse you and make you hesitate a couple times if the enemy is actually an enemy or an ally, and gets you killed a couple times. Right there you saw another one of my little critiques, obviously camping as well, but that's part of the game, is the cooking time of C4s and grenades. I'm in Modern Warfare and past previous games, C4s are a lot easier to just throw and hit in midair. It seems right here it kind of actually has to hit the ground, or just takes a really long delay in order to be able to activate that C4, so I'm still trying to get used to that. We also do see the KDR, or elimination per death type of system, with Black Ops 4, where even if you don't finish off the kill, you still get the kill if someone does finish it for you. So essentially, if you get an assist or you did a lot of damage on one player, you still get the elimination kill, but you won't get a kill streak, if that makes sense. And one field upgrade that I think is kind of OP at the moment is this field mic. As soon as you drop it, you see in the minimap, you get this kind of circle that indicates exactly where people are, without even if they have ghosts. There is one perk to try to eliminate that, but it's just gonna force people to camp a little bit more. Hopefully it doesn't, and then people are gonna have to use ghost and that other perk in order to kind of counter the field mic. As you can see there, slides are a little OP as well. The movement is a little faster in this game. It's a lot faster paced, so when you're turning the corner and people slide on you, it's a huge advantage, because people move at such an incredible speed when they slide, compared to just being able to just move and strafe left and right. Another perk that I think people are going to start using is that cold blood type of perk, where it hides your red indicator, because since you are being distracted with a lot of people, allies being in the same line of sight as enemies, it can get you distracted and people can kind of hide, and it is a lot harder to find people in this game. Another huge part that I do like is that they kept the hidiness of the sound of footsteps. It's not as dramatic as it is in Modern Warfare, but it's still great enough to be able to, if you do have some good headsets, you are at somewhat of an advantage, because you can hear people on the side of you, behind you, etc. And like I mentioned before, I'm still a little indifferent on the health bar. As you saw, as I was coming down into this room, I saw my own ally was a little low on health, so I knew he was in action, in fire, and I knew kind of the direction that I should look towards. So it does indicate a good where to go. It gives you a lot of info, but it kind of does distract as well. Napalm is one of the score streaks that are here, and I absolutely love it. It does give you a couple kills, because after you place it, it's still present on the field and could get you another kill just from people not knowing or understanding the score streak and just walking straight into it. Jumping back into the lethal equipment, like I mentioned, there is a little bit of a delay, especially with the grenades. It feels a little off because there's an extra added animation that kind of delays from when you click the button in order to throw a grenade. So that can kind of throw you off. You just got to get used to the timing for that. But it does sometimes cost me alive, especially with the C4. I'm trying to run into a room like you do in Modern Warfare and just throw a C4, hit it, and then back off, and then, you know, push once more. That's a little bit slower in that terms of gameplay, but overall gameplay, it is a little bit faster paced, like I mentioned. Kill streaks are based off of kills, and if you get an elimination, or essentially an assist from someone helping you get a kill, or you know, they get the last bullet, it doesn't count towards your kill streak, it seems like, in terms of the total count that it indicate on the screen saying, hey, you have 6 kills, etc. So that's interesting. I do like the kind of combination of score streak and kill streak idea themes in this game. So that's one plus, but for some people it may not be as much of a plus. Some people like score streaks instead of kill streaks, because a score streak type of system does promote more of a game objective type of style of play, instead of people in domination running around only going for kills and no one's getting the flag, and you end up losing the game most of the time. So that's one kind of indifferent thing that some people may have about this game, but overall I think the gameplay is still smooth. As you can see here, look how quick you're able to slide in and out. It's pretty OP in terms of getting a better position on someone, or like I mentioned, when you want to go around the corner, or if you're literally just near someone, because of how consoles work and the refresh rates are a lot slower on consoles than PCs, people on their kill streak, when they see the camera, they're gonna be like, what, like I was looking at him, I was shooting at him, but in our screen when we kill you, it's gonna be a lot different of what we saw, because of that refresh rate, and because of how fast the sliding works. So as you can see here, I get my kill, but later on you see that I already dropped the napalm, but because people don't really understand the napalm, they still walk into the fire and you get an additional elimination kill. But moving forward, you know, I get another kill, but right here's the clip that I'm talking about sliding. You saw how quick he just kind of zoomed in on me, and there's no way for me to be able to react and try to get him. It's an easy and OP way to just, like, as soon as someone's shooting at you and you're at close distance, you can kind of like fly right past them and then shoot them from the back. So it's a little interesting to see what they're gonna do about that. As you can see here, quick scoping is finally back, like in Modern Warfare 2. We are going to get a lot of mixed feelings about this. Black Ops 3 people love that they nerfed it. Modern Warfare 2 was a lot of crazy quick scoping, people walking around. So it's going to be interesting to see what the gaming community or the COD community thinks about this coming back, because it's fun and sometimes, but sometimes it could also get annoying for certain people. I do also want to see what they do about skill-based matchmaking. Clearly that was not skill-based matchmaking. That guy was lost, and what Call of Duty is going to do about that, if they're going to keep it like in Warzone or Modern Warfare, or if they're going to, you know, continue with other games where it's completely random, and then that would kind of prevent reverse boosting. Now jumping into our loadout and how the classes are created, what we see here, AK-74U is one of the guns I did like a little bit more, but it's pretty similar to, you know, Modern Warfare, where you have the gun and you can hit the gunsmith, but instead of on the right side, you have it right directly under. The amount of attachments that you can put is great. I mean, there's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 different setups or sets where there's, you know, multiple attachments for each one of these sets. So for the optic, the muzzle, barrel, underbarrel, body, stock, magazine, so you can kind of allows a lot more balancing, because there's a lot of different options you can choose. For example, there's just a quick dot LED, mill stop, reflex, so a lot of different sights, muzzles, barrels, underbarrels, bodies. So that gives a lot of variability. A new and interesting thing is for the secondaries. Pistols and launchers are no longer the only secondaries you can have. You can also have shotguns. I didn't see as many people using shotguns. I got killed maybe once, maybe twice by a shotgun. Other than that, not many people were using them, but it's going to be interesting to see how the difference of the gameplay is going to be with having a primary and a shotgun alongside. So here you can also edit all these different attachments on the shotgun, and what's great is on the secondary on your shotgun does not necessarily count for the type of pick 10 system. In this case I have perk greed, but we have perk greed, gunfighter, lawbreaker, and danger close. Obviously danger close everyone knows for extra lethals. Lawbreaker is kind of overkill in terms of Modern Warfare, so you can have you know, 2 primaries. Gunfighter allows you to have more attachments, so including 3 more additional attachments. So in this case we hit gunfighter. It's gonna remove my perk greed, so this is the one I was running because it allows, you know, 3 extra perks, which I think is pretty interesting because I have tactical mask and flak jacket. Tactical mask because I felt like everyone was gonna be running it. I'm starting with stun grenades. Scavenger, obviously quartermaster, which is gonna be interesting with the loadout, with the field upgrades, because it might get a lot more use because of how OP that field mic is. And then tracker, we all know how tracker works. So the third perk setups, we have cold-blooded, which I believe is going to be one of the ones that are going to be used because of how I mentioned people can get distracted by that blue indicator that's not always directly above the players, but it still is a little distracting if you're both in the side of, you know, in the field of view of the enemy, because it could seem like he's your ally instead. And people are going to probably try to use this in their advantage, saying that, you know, the red name is not going to pop up, so as long as it stays blue, because there's a person behind him, you're going to think that he's an ally and get killed a lot more. Ghost, everyone's going to be running their, you know, everyone and their moms is going to be running Ghost, and this is one of the counters, which is why I think they felt it was appropriate to add the field mic. But it's also going to make people have to force to use between Ninja and Ghost, or both in this case, because field mics are so OP, so people are all going to want to use Ninja in order to counter that. So I think that's a huge thing. You do have to try to think of, hey, do I want to have Ninja and be resistant to the field mic, which is already OP, or the constant spy planes that are going to be moving on, or do I want to try to sneak attack people with cold-blooded because of that functionality of the blue indicator above every one of your allies, because it is a little bit different than any other games. I'll confirm and equip. Okay, so let's say I put flak jacket on my first one. My second one is probably going to be between scavenger and quartermaster. Tracker, I didn't see as much of a use. I do want to see what the footstep timing is. I know for Modern Warfare it's about 8 seconds of when it just kind of disappears, and scavenger has been very useful to me due to, you know, always spending bullets. And this is going to be between Ghost and Ninja, which is going to be interesting. Probably Ghost will be the more used one, but until later people see that the field mic, people might start switching over to Ninja. So like as I mentioned, 3 additional weapons. So right here you see that you get 3 extra of those pick 10 systems. So now you can add an optic underbarrel. In this case, you know, you can add a foregrip, an extra stock, and then your optic. So if you want to use all of them, go ahead and use that. I did prefer no optic on this AK-74U. I'm not sure why. The optic does feel a little bit weird to me for some reason, but that could probably change as I play a little bit longer. Pretty interesting system. I really do enjoy it. It's great, and it gives you a lot of variability of gun options. So it's not going to be just this, you know, constant one gun that everyone's going to be using, as you saw in the gameplay. Like I was using the XM4, you know, the MP5 a little bit, the AK-74. So you have the Uzi as well with this shotgun, and then we have some snipers. As I mentioned, C4s, it takes a long time to detonate by double tapping square. And then even the frags, along with the animation that I mentioned, the longer animation at the beginning of, you know, having to cock a grenade, it felt like it did take a little longer to detonate as well. So that's one huge thing. So with the field mics, we have the jammer, SAM turret, proximity mine. With the amount of score streaks that there will be, the mix of the kill streak and score streak system, I believe the SAM turret will be used a lot more often, because there's, as I noticed in the game, there's a lot more things in the air. There's a lot more UAVs, there's a lot more napalms and chopper gunners. So it's gonna be interesting to see what, how many SAM turrets people use. But I still think the field mic is the best, because it kind of lets you control an area of the map, because you know exactly where everyone's at. In this case, you see we have Lawbreaker, so it lets you have your Tundra, your sniper, and then you have your secondary, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. And then Quartermaster allows you to have that field mic out a little bit longer, because that's going to be OP. And then Tracker and Quartermaster, so that's one thing. It's a great idea, honestly, the Lawbreaker. You get two weapons, two primaries, and then you can choose any of these perks. So people could end up going Cold-Blooded Ghost and Ninja, which would be interesting to see what people do with that. Or Quartermaster, and then two of these. As one of these, I did see are effective. Tactical Mass is one of the more effective ones, but it's not as strong as it used to be back in like Modern Warfare 2 or any of those games. So I could see people going into more Lawbreaker or Perk Greed, because not everyone's gonna want to use all of the attachments, so it may not be as worth using Gunfighter. So definitely Lawbreaker and Perk Greed, so people can do that. They're quick scoping and have a primary as well. That's probably what people are going to be using more. It will be interesting to see what people use, but definitely will be between those two different wild cards, Perk Greed and Lawbreaker. Being able to use any perk that you desire is kind of OP. I would, honestly probably use one of these two, probably Ghost instead of Scavenger. Tracker. Have Scavenger and Quartermaster and Ghost. It's gonna be a huge thing for camping, honestly. Being able to spawn a field mic, have Ghost, and then being able to replenish your ammo immediately and then snipe people from a distance. So now we're moving on to the score streaks in this game. Not as many score streaks as other games. It's pretty limited. RCXDs, obviously, we all know what they do. Spy planes, UAVs, we all know what they do. Artillery, it's kind of like a mortar strike, so we all know what that is. I did enjoy the napalm strike for some reason. It is just a carpet bomb, but it was fun to me to use. Air patrol is another counter for any enemy airstreaks. War machine, I do want to just get a chance to use this later on. I feel like it'll be fun noob tubing everyone, but I want to see how it is in terms of the explosive damage, how that affects, because some games you literally shoot an explosive right next to someone and they have, they don't lose much health at all. Attack helicopters and chopper gunners, obviously one of the better ones. Chopper gunner is kind of OP. It does seem more effective, and you can get people inside of enclosed areas or buildings a lot easier. It seems like explosive rounds, if that makes any sense. Like, you don't even necessarily have to shoot at someone directly in order to get the kill. Just kind of shooting at the floor itself does do damage to them. So that may be one thing that they kind of take into consideration of changing. But overall, the gameplay, like I mentioned, is great. You do get your operator loadouts as well. I would still try to refrain from bulkier operators. You want to do decrease your kill zone, or your the box that you have, the kill box. So the hitbox or whatever you want to call it. So that's what I would go with, something smaller and slimmer. If you enjoyed this good, bad, and ugly review, go ahead and drop a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.